So introduction to SAP S/4HANA. This is our course, and we will be talking about that. This is a beginner level course. There is no prerequisite. So if you know nothing, that will be great. And this is beginner to advanced level. Okay. So now in this course, we'll talk about SAP vision of the intelligent enterprise, that how an enterprise can be intelligent in making better decisions for improving their businesses. In this, we will talk about some basic concepts of ERP, how ERP is helping the companies, and especially S/4HANA, how it is going to improve the performance of the company. We'll talk about some interfaces which are available with SAP S/4HANA system. So this is what we will talk about. And please, you can stop me wherever you feel you have a question, because if we pass through the slide, then it will be difficult to come back, or it will be difficult to remember, so you may forget. So it is a good idea that you can stop me at the same place where you have a question, and don't let me go until you are clear about that. So this is the agenda of our today's lecture. Now, let's talk about intelligent enterprise. SAP, they started in 1972. So it's like 50 years now they are in the market. And at this point in time, it is one of the world's largest independent software manufacturers. And imagine, they have like more than 400,000 customers. In 2012, when I started SAP, I was looking at the figure of like 175,000 customers. And you can see that from 1972 to 2012, in 40 years, they were having like 175,000 customers. Now from 2012 to 2022, in 10 years, they are all more than double. They are now more than 400,000 customers. So actually, SAP helps the companies in streamlining their processes. We are talking about their sales system. We are talking about their purchasing system. We are talking about their accounting system, inventory management, manufacturing, their projects within the company, their human resource. So all these things we are talking about. So SAP helps in streamlining all these processes, accounting processes, purchasing processes, sales processes, so like that. And with the help of SAP S/4HANA, because of the HANA, now they are using their live data for the reports, for decision making. Before HANA, it was not possible. It was not possible to use the live data for the reports, to predict the future trends, to make the decisions. It was not possible. But now it is possible. Even you can say that if you say, I want the report until the last minute, yes, it is possible with the help of HANA database. Before, it was not possible. Some companies, they were able to get a report 1 day after. Some companies, 2 days after. Some companies, 1 week after. So there was a delay in the reports, in decision-making reports. But with HANA, that is why they say the intelligent enterprise. Before, they were not using this word, intelligent enterprise, but now they are using because of the live data, that they can make the intelligent decision immediately. Any question on this slide?
No.
Okay, now you can see that they started in 1972. And there were 5 people. There were 5 guys, they were working in IBM. And they told the IBM that, we are working on, actually what was happening at that time, there were mainframes and very limited terminals. We have laptops now, the screen now. Before, there was very little screens. And what people do, they print the papers through the computers, and they were working on the papers, and the reports were on the papers and all those stuff. So these 5 guys thought, why we are working on the papers? Why not on the screens? So they got this idea, and they told IBM that we should develop something that we should be working on the computers, not on the papers. So IBM didn't understand, or the management of the IBM didn't get the idea what these guys are talking about. So these 5 guys quit the IBM. And these 5 guys, they started developing their own software. And you know what they have done? They went to the Siemens and they say, okay, we will develop some software for you and we will be. And they made a contract that whatever we will do the development, that will be our property. You will use it. And once you will use it, so you will be renewing the license every year. So in this way, they got a permanent, income for their new company. Now, SAP, the Siemens were paying them every year for using their software, which they have developed. And they have developed the software on the Siemens computers. They didn't even have their own computer, you can say like that, because they were just 5 guys, and computers were so costly at that time that it was not possible for people to afford, So they developed the software on the Siemens machine, but they made an agreement that this software proprietary will be us. So then after 10 years, they introduced another release that they call it release 2. And in 1993-94, they got another release that they call SAP R3. This was for client server, environment. And this R3 was so popular, it was popular until 2002, you can say like that, or maybe 2006 until. In 2004 or 2003 or 2004, they introduced SAP ERP. And that was again a big popular software, SAP ERP. Actually, the SAP ERP was the advanced version of R3, and R3 was the advanced version of R2, and R2 was the advanced version of R1. So SAP ERP, it remains there in the market for 14, 15 years. And now they bring SAP S/4HANA. So this is the short history of SAP. And now you see here, in 2015, they introduced SAP S/4HANA. But nobody, and they forced companies to install S/4HANA immediately. But the companies, they refused. So then they, back out and they say, okay, what you can do is you can use S/4HANA, and by 2025, they gave the deadline to the companies of 10 years that by 2025, you should be using S/4HANA, because after that, we will not support SAP ERP anymore. And now these are the companies which are using S/4HANA. Any software developed on S/4HANA, these are the some of the companies. There are many companies who are using S/4HANA. So now companies realized the power of S/4HANA, and they appreciated it, and now they are. And SAP in 2015, the SAP came to me, and they said that, Tariq, we are expecting yani 5,000 jobs. We are expecting 5,000 jobs in Saudi Arabia for SAP software. So we want your help to train your students on SAP products. So at that time, we were using SAP ERP, we were using SAP HANA, and we were using for ABAP programming. So we were training on these 3-4 platforms. And so this is the same course that we started for the first time, and we continue teaching those students. Now we are teaching for S/4HANA. We are not teaching for SAP ERP because, most of the companies, they're going to S/4HANA. Any question here? So let's talk about the fast fact about HANA. You see here in the small history, 1979, and they got a new release for R2, 92, R3, 2004, ERP, and 2015, we got S/4HANA. Reason for all these new generation, they were improving most of the time, and biggest innovation was the R3 until today, they say. Reason, before it was on the mainframe only, and mainframe is too costly. It's very hard for us, even for a company, to afford mainframe computers. Mainframe computers are a company like Saudi Airline can afford, a company like Saudi Telecom, which is a government-based company. These kind of companies can afford the mainframes, not a small company. So when they bring that SAP to client server environment, where you can have a server and you have a client like our laptops or desktop, that was the biggest innovation they're bringing. And this SAP connect the people and the businesses and the devices at the same time. It works in the real time, especially the S/4HANA. It works in the real time. Either here you click the save button, and the transaction is saved, and now you can get the report, decision-making report based on that. Either here you click on the save and you get the report, and you'll find a different report between 1 minute before and now is a different report. So you are a real time, you're getting the report, getting the information from your data. This was not possible. This was not possible before. Companies were waiting for another day or another week, to get the report, updated report. SAP HANA, S/4HANA software, it is efficient, it is simple, and overall the master data is managed centrally. So when we say master data is managed centrally, means no duplication of data. We are dealing with a customer, so customer, we have to enter the information of the customer. And we will be dealing with this customer next month, maybe next year, maybe every day, maybe every week. So anything that you're using again and again is a master data. When you go to the shop and you want to buy something from some big shop, they say, please give us your mobile number, and they enter your mobile number into their system. So actually they are creating a master data for yourself to send you messages, or when you go back and you say, I purchased this thing, I lost the receipt, they can just go back and enter your telephone number and retrieve your last purchase which you have made. So anything that you are storing into your system and you're using it again and again, that is what we call master data. And this master data is managed centrally. Centrally mean at one place where everybody can access that. Now, for example, you bought something from what you call it? Can you give me a big store name? Ladies are here, so they know the big store names.
Jared Bookstore.
Jareer Bookstore. So for example, you bought some items from Jareer Bookstore, and that is Jareer Bookstore is in Dhahran. And now you travel to Jeddah, and over there you want to return it back. So you can, so if they try to pull your data, they can pull your data from their system, that okay, you purchased this product from that point with your mobile number. So that mobile number is a master record that is stored and managed at central location from where people can access within the company. So that is what we call master data. Regarding SAP ERP, it supports all the business processes. Look, these are the business processes. What is that? Sales, you are selling the product. Your finance, you're tracking your finance. They are linked together. You are making manufacturing, production planning, you're manufacturing here. They are linked together. You are purchasing the raw material. You are purchasing the products. This is a we have a human capital management. We have a warehouse management. All these processes, all these line of businesses are linked together in an ERP system. You know, this finance, this sales and distribution, these are all line of businesses. Production planning, that is manufacturing, again, a line of business. Human capital management, this is what we call line of business. So all these departments are known as line of business. Okay. So this is how many line of business we have in this case: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So there are 10 line of businesses that SAP is dealing with. I think is 11, more than that. So it helps you to run the organization very smoothly. It run in the real-time environment. Scalable mean you have like 100 employees, SAP is working fine. Oh, now you got 1,000 employees. SAP is still working fine. Now you got 10,000 employees. SAP is still working fine. You know, so this is why even if you increase the number of users, there is no impact on its performance. So that is what we call scalable, and it is flexible. Then we have, you can do all kind of business transactions. Okay, all business transactions are available, which you can do on the SAP ERP. Any question on? Okay, now we are talking of data types in ERP system. So if you see, we have 3 question marks. So it means that we are having 3 types of data. You know, in SAP system is working on 3 types of data. For example, it's working on the organizational data. It is working on the master data, and then transaction data. Now, this is the first place. The organizational data is the first one. If we don't have the organizational data, oh, we cannot create master data. We cannot have the transaction data. So these 2 are gone. Why? Because this organization data is missing. So this organization data is the first step. So we have to maintain organizational data. Now, what is the organizational data? For example, what is the code of your company? What is the code for your plant? And the plant has a storage location. What is the code for that? So you have to define the codes. Okay. For example, if I type something here, we have a Saudi Arabia company. Okay. So we say SAP 01. So this code represents my company in the SAP system. And this is what we call, oh, this is my organizational data. This SA01 is representing my company, and this is my organizational data. Oh, I have a plant in Riyadh, okay? So I say, okay, Riyadh 01, this is my plant, Riyadh 01. Okay, so this RD01 is representing my plant, and I say this is my organizational data. Now this plant has, every plant has a storage location where you keep the inventory, where you keep the material, you know, all the stuff. And this is my, for example, RM01. This is my raw material 01 storage location. Okay, fine. This is my organizational data. Oh, I am selling the items through a distribution channel. Okay, distribution channel is internet, for example. This is my internet code. Oh, this IN is my organizational data. Anything that represents my organization is organizational data. Is that clear?
Repeat
Yes.
the last point.
Yes, it's clear.
Okay, now we do have purchasing organization. Okay, I have a purchasing organization code. For example, I have a purchasing organization. Maybe you can say MM01. Okay, so this is my purchasing organization. So this code, this data is representing my purchasing organization, and this is organizational data because my purchasing organization belongs to the organization. Distribution channel belongs to organization. Storage location belongs to organization. Plant belongs to organization. Company belongs to organization. So any code related for all these things, they are my organizational data. Is that clear?
Yes,
Very good.
thank you.
Now, we do have another type of data, and that is a master data. Now, master data is a data that you keep for a long time or use for a long time. For example, we have a customer. So a customer wants to do a business with us. What do you think? We'll be doing business with the customer only one time or many times?
No, many times.
Yes. If we
Yeah.
have to do the business with the customer many times, then we will
Yes.
it as a master data. Or we will name it, okay, this is my customer record, this is my master data. Khalas. If we are using it more than one time, it is my master data. There is a vendor, for example, I'm purchasing all the time computer paper from that vendor. Okay, so basically I'm purchasing material many times from that vendor. I have to keep the vendor record into my computer system. So vendor, I will store the information about that vendor. For example, Jareer Bookstore is my vendor. So I'll put the Jareer Bookstore, the name and the address and everything for that vendor into my system. And that is a permanent record. That is a master data because I'll be going to that vendor many times for purchasing. For customer, I'll be selling my items to this customer many times. So anything I'm using many times, that will be my master data.
Master data. Yeah.
Now, these are the examples of my transaction data. Remember, transaction data we use only for one time. We only use transaction for one time. Okay, I believe many of you guys are working in a company. Now, please tell me, anyone can tell me that purchase order. How come you say that purchase order we are using only one time? Anybody can explain that for?
Because of the price and the date and the fees and the tax, I guess every time it will be changing.
You know,
Um,
yeah,
It won't duplicate the information, duplicate the order.
yeah. You know, if we create a purchase order, you know, means we will pay the money against that purchase order. Is that right?
No.
Yeah. Once a
Oh,
company
yes. Yeah.
once a company create a purchase order, this is a legal document, you know. And if a company create a purchase order for me, that Tariq, I want to purchase I want to purchase 5 trainings from you, and this is the purchase order. You know, I will take it, and now I will send them the bill of 5 trainees, and the company has to pay me that. If they don't pay me, I'll take them to the court. Hey, this purchase order, I got it, and this company is not paying me for that. I'm selling computer papers. Okay. Now the company says, Tariq, we want 5 boxes of computer paper. And this is the purchase order. I will take the purchase order. No, I will give to the company. I'm not worried about my money because I know this purchase order. If they didn't give me the money, I'll take them to the court. So, but now once I pay the money, this purchase order is done. Is that right?
Yeah.
Can I get the money again on the same purchase order?
No, just one time.
Must. That is why we call
Yeah.
it the transaction data, and it is only for the one time.
Yeah, one time.
Now I got an invoice, okay, and I paid the invoice. If the company come with the same invoice again, am I going to pay the invoice same again?
No, just one time, I guess.
Just one time. So that's
Yeah.
why purchase order or invoice or sales order or transportation, these are all one-time documents. Anything that
So,
time we are using, we call them
transaction.
transaction data. So if I say transaction data, mean this is the document, this is the data that we use only one time. You know, I purchased 5 boxes of computer paper. Okay. So I got the order and company pay me. Now I want to purchase 5 more boxes. Can I use the same purchase order? No, I have to make a copy of that purchase order. Before it was a purchase order number 1. Now it will be purchase order number 2.
So, yeah.
Is that clear? So
Yeah.
every
Yes.
time I have to create a new document.
So the transaction here represents the product itself. So we cannot sell the same product again, or the physical product actually.
Say it again, please.
So since the transaction represents the products that you will sell, you cannot take the product that you already sold and sell it to another person.
No, not like that. You know, we have, like, as I mentioned, I'm selling the computer papers, and if the company orders me, gave me a purchase order for buying 5 boxes, I gave them 5 boxes, they pay me the money. Now, can they give me another order for 5 boxes?
Yes, in another transaction.
Yeah, in another transaction, you're right. So they have to create another purchase order for me for 5 boxes, and then I will give them the 5 boxes and they will pay me the money. So every time they have to make another purchase order. They cannot use the same purchase order number. That's what we are talking about, the transaction data. Is that clear now?
Yes.
Okay, now in SAP, this is the first data that you have to create. Organizational data is the first data that you have to create. You have to give code to your company, you have to give code to the plant, you have to give code to the purchasing organization, you have to give code to the sales organization, you have to give code to the distribution channel, you have to give code. This is the first thing. If you have given all these things, now you can create the material master data, person master data, material, customer, vendor, work center, any type of master data you can create once you have your organizational data. If your organizational data is missing, one of them is missing, which is required, you cannot create the master data. Khalas. You cannot create the customer. For example, you don't have the company code, okay? Can you create the customer data? No. You don't have the distribution channel, because through distribution channel, you are selling the item to the customer. Can you create a customer? No. Why? Because we don't have a distribution channel. So if you don't have, you cannot create the customer master data. So to create a master data, we must have organizational data. Is that clear?
Yes.
Yes.
No.
So here,
Yes, please go ahead.
the organization data is stored in SAP systems, not
Yes.
locally.
Yes, in the SAP system, in the database, in the SAP database, it is stored. Okay, guys.
That database will be in the SAP organization, not actually in the local organization.
In the local organization where it is implemented.
Okay.
Not when the SAP gave us the software, everything will be on my company's computer. Whether it's an organizational data or master data or transaction data, every data will be stored on my computer in my company. Okay, another thing is this purchasing document or this transaction data need organizational data and the master data. Remember this thing. If I have the organization data and I don't have the master data, I cannot create the transaction. So to create a transaction, we must have organization data and the master data. Is that fine?
Yes.
Any question here?
About me, no, thanks.
Okay, great. Now, okay, some terminologies we will talk about. In SAP, you know, in the business term, we call enterprise. Is that right? Enterprise. SAP call it
Client.
client. We have a company in the business term, subsidiary, and the SAP says company
Code.
So if I'm talking about a company code, means I'm talking about the company. We have a plant. In the business term, we say plant, manufacturing plant, it could be. So in the SAP also say plant. In the business term, we have a sales organization. Okay. In SAP, we have a sales organization. In business, you have a storage location. Every plant has a storage location. Every plant has a storage. This is must. Lazim wa malzoom. So we have a plant and then we have a storage location. So this plant has a storage location. Now, if we talk about the division, every sales organization has a division. Oh, this motorbike division, this is car division, this is bicycle division. So we have different business areas, different departments. So in business term, we call it department, we call division, we call business areas. But in SAP, we call divisions. Is that clear? So
yes.
SAP has a different terminology. If I say client, normally we say customer. But in SAP, enterprise is the client for SAP. So that is why they're saying the enterprise is a client. So remember these terminologies, we will be using these terminologies most of the time. Not most of the time, all the time, okay? So client, company code, plant, sales organization, division, and storage location.
Like basic information, right?
Okay, basic information. You know, what is the company code? We just talked on the previous slide. Do you remember that?
Yeah, organization data, I think.
Yes, organization
Yeah.
data. And how about client is also organization data. Plant,
Yeah,
organizational
same.
data. Story
Yeah.
location, division, everything is, we are talking here is organizational data.
Yeah.
You know, any code you give to any department of the company, that becomes organizational data.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Okay. We are talking about master data. You see, any data that you stored for a long time. You know, for example, customer. Oh, we are dealing with the customer for many time. You know, for a long time we'll keep. There's a company. You know, companies can live for 50 years, for 100 years, for 200 years, for 300 years. You know, so company we can say that is the master data. Material we are dealing with, you know, bicycles, we are dealing with the bicycles. Every time you're dealing with the bicycles, or we are dealing with a computer paper. This is the material, pencil, pen, staplers. So these are all material. So we will be creating them, we will be using them all the time, we'll be having them all the time. So we can create a master data for them. The suppliers, the vendors, you know, from where we can buy these products. So we can store them as a master data. General ledger account, we can store them as a master data. So these are the some example of master data. And you know, we talk about the transaction data and the examples we have seen that. And I mentioned that the transaction data in transaction, in every transaction, we must have to have organizational data. Is that right? And we must have
Yes.
master data.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and then we can have, so we must have organizational data and we must have transaction master data for our transaction. And we do have some other data that we call situational data, you know, the quantity, how much
For the time.
you are buying. Material number is master data. Okay, this material, how much quantity, how much price, which date. So the date and the time and the person who is dealing and the amount and the quantity, these are all situational data. So if I say my transaction data, my transaction has.
This is under master data, right?
Huh?
Under master data, I will put it all of this.
No, this is not under master data. Everything is independent.
Okay.
But they are linked together as well.
Okay, I get
We are
it.
getting any material from master data. We are getting the customer information from master data. But this is a separate one, you know, in the
Okay. Yeah, I know now. Thank you.
Welcome. Any question on this slide, guys, before I go to the next slide?
No, thanks.
Okay, now this is another interesting part, and the document. You know, any document you save, for example, you created a purchase order, okay? And you save that purchase order. It becomes a document. It becomes a document. You created an invoice and you save the invoice. It becomes a document. Remember one thing, any document you create, you cannot delete.
Okay.
This is the beauty of SAP. You know, one time, and there was a guy, he was working in a human resource, and he was using SAP system, and he was the guy who was entering the salaries of the employees. So one day he realized that his salary is low, so he realized that why not I can put my more salary in the system. Let's see what happens. So he put money into he put more money. I mean, for example, his salary is like 6,000, so he put 7,000, and he got 7,000 in the bank. Next, he increased his salary by himself, and he put 10,000, and 10,000 came to the bank. Now he was enjoying the extra salary by entering his numbers. in the SAP system. One day he realized that why I'm doing slowly, why not make a 500,000 salary for himself? So he entered 500,000 salary, and that salaries went through because it was a government office and the government has a lot of money. So he was getting. Now what happens? The bank manager realized that there is one unusual amount in the salaries. So he just reported back, hey guys, I'm receiving one unusual amount. Check into your system if everything is okay. Now, when these guys started making investigation, they found that this guy is charging the government a lot of money.
Big issue.
And now this guy cannot delete any document.
Okay.
So this is the beauty of the SAP document, that once you create a document, you cannot delete it. No way. So it is the permanent part. So this guy was caught and they put him into the jail and then recover all the money which he has, used for some time. So
Yeah, Mr. Tariq, I told you before, I work with the ERP system in my company. I am the biometric administrator as well, so I can change the click in and click out for the employees we have.
yes,
And sometimes when I come late, I also attempt to change my click in to 7:30, but it's not worth it.
it is not worth it. Yes, you're right.
Yes.
I mean, this is the ERP system. They are making it that that one should not play around and something like that. So this is the interesting feature. That is why the company would love to have SAP system. One of I delivered this same training I delivered in Pakistan, to the professors of the universities, like 15-20 universities professors, they came to that session, and I delivered the lecture for 1 week. They were with me, and one of the professor, he was my student when 30 years back. He was my student at that time. So he said, and he was very blunt. He's very blunt student, and he came first day. He says, Sir Tariq, sorry for that, but I didn't like this SAP course and I didn't like the SAP system. It's so complicated and not a user friendly and this and that, blah, blah, blah. So he said what he wanted to say. I said, okay, Khal, you are here now on the training, so at least you can stay with me for 1 week. And he said, yeah, I will stay for 1 week, and then I will look into the system in great detail, because he was also a developer of the system and he used to develop the system. He says, I develop the system for companies, and and I always try to make it more user friendly. And this SAP system is not at all user friendly. So I didn't like this system. Anyway, after 2 days, he came to me again. He says, I like this system. I said, what thing changed your mind? He says, it has more control. It is developed from the management point of view that nobody can bypass through this system. So it is fulfilling the requirement of the management. And this is not for the user. And he says, teacher, the user, whatever you will give him, he will use it, whether it's friendly or not friendly, because he's getting the salary. So now I realized, he said, after 15 years of my software development experience, now I realized that user friendliness should not be there. It should be management friendliness in the system. And this SAP system is more management friendly than the user friendly. So he changed his mind after 2 days of the training. And he was with me for. Now, if you see here, how come the digital change comes into this company? Sometime technologies get changed, so we are changing system into our companies. Sometime we got new customer experience, new organizational unit we added more factories, so we have to change in our digital system. Some customer came in, some new way of sales and purchase. For example, before we used to do sales and purchase through the stores. Now we are doing online. Some new research came and some new methodologies came into the system, into the market. So These are all the drivers of the changes, driver of changes to the system. So anything comes in that can impact the system, and we keep on changing our system. We keep on upgrading our system. That is why we are getting updates all the time from Microsoft Windows, you know. So this is the digital transformation and why we need to have digital transformation. There you go. For before, SAP was using any database, but now SAP ERP is using HANA database. Before we was having ERP, now we are having SAP S for HANA. This S for HANA has so many cloud features, you know. One of them is SuccessFactors, one of them is Ariba or Hybris. So these are the systems which are available through services. They are available in the cloud. You know, when we say available in the cloud and as a service, do you have any idea what I'm talking about? Say no, then I will answer.
Do you mean in the cloud, like we can access from anywhere?
That is one thing. Yes, this is one feature you can access from anywhere. But when we say we are providing software as a service, what does it mean?
So we don't need to install the software. It is on the cloud. We can use it on the web.
Very nice. Through the browser, we can use it, or
Yeah.
they can give us some client, okay, like a browser client for that particular software, and we can use it. So software is available with the company. We just pay every month, and we can use the services of that software. That is what we call the software in the cloud or software as a service. So this HANA is available in the cloud, and HANA is available on premises as well. So you can have your own computer, you can install the SAP S/4HANA on your computers, or you can get the services from the cloud. And this HANA is also linked with the online services. Ariba is like an Amazon of SAP for SAP. SuccessFactors is the human resource software. Hybris, I believe, is the marketing tool, like supply chain or something. So these are the some facts for SAP S/4HANA. We are using, okay, SAP has developed a SAP Fury. This Fury is like a web-based. You can use the browser in Google Chrome or Internet Explorer to run SAP HANA S/4HANA. So those applications which are you are running on browser, those are developed in SAP Fury. This is the technology that you are using to develop those. You can choose for SAP HANA, you can choose whether you want to go for the cloud or you can go for the on-premises, you know. So this is a business suite. What's new? Any question here before I go for the to the what's new?
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
Inshallah, we will have some break after some time, and we will go for the salah, and then we'll come back at 8 o'clock, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Mr. Tariq,
Yes, please.
thank you at the beginning. I would appreciate if you can give us an overview around this Ariba.
Ariba is not the part of this one, but actually Ariba is the cloud where you can purchase like an Amazon. This Ariba is connected with SAP software. So instead of, you know, going here and there, you can directly click from the SAP software and join the Ariba, like Amazon. That's it. I don't have much information on that.
Okay, no issue. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Just wait for 1 minute. Azan is happening. So once Azan is finished, then I'll continue for another 5-6 minutes, and then we'll go, inshallah, for salah. Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I just shared a link to download the SAP software for your mobile, for your laptops. And if you're logged on from your mobile for this session, I'll appreciate that you can use your laptop for the next session, inshallah. That will come after half an hour. So we'll join at 8 o'clock, inshallah. So you can join on the laptop. And if you get a chance, you can download this software as well during the break time. Okay, so SAP S/4HANA, actually, I will not go into much detail. SAP HANA is like a database in the RAM, okay, not on the hard disk. So everything is happening in the RAM. In other words, if you turn off the switch, khalas, kullu database is gone. So that is why this SAP HANA is fast, very fast, and it stores all the information in the RAM. How much is fast from the other database? We have a limited speed for the hard disk. Yani it can move 10,000 cycles per second. So it has a limit. It cannot go faster than 10,000. But RAM has no limit. So RAM is 10,000 times faster than the hard disk. So in other words, any database available on the hard disk, this HANA is 10,000 times faster than that database which is available on the hard disk. For example, Microsoft SQL Server or Oracle or any other database. This is one thing. Another thing is that the transaction database, we save the purchase order, we save the invoice. These are all transactions. Any transaction you save, it's stored in a row. The Excel. Have you seen the Excel? Excel has the rows. Excel software.
Yes.
It's stored in a rows. Every database. So all transactions get stored in rows. And that is why we call them transactional database. Now, the reporting which you take, they are stored in columns. They are not stored in the rows. They are stored in columns. So analytical database which are stored in column, they are much faster in reporting than the transactional database. So what companies do, they do the transaction in the transaction database and they transfer the data from transaction database to the analytical database. In the analytical database, they put it into the column shape. On the transaction, it is in the row shape. Analytical database, column shape. Is that clear? Not.
Yes.
So what HANA has done, since it is in the memory, it put everything into the column based. So you can store anything, it is stored in a column. And that is why reporting is very fast. So we don't have to transfer our transaction to analytical database, from changing from row to columns database, and then get the report. Oh, HANA is already in the column, so we are getting the report at any time. So it's a new design. We are using Fury for that. And you see here, if you see OLAP and OLTP, this is a transaction database. This is analytical database, the reporting database. And this HANA has both together as a facility. You can have the transaction database and the OLAP database at one place. That is why it is faster. You can get the report anytime, whenever you want. And not
Very fast.
very fast.
Yeah.
And plus it has a compression, compression means it is working on the codes. Instead of
Okay.
instead of storing like Jeddah, JEDDAH, it will use the codes 01.
Like prepare all the data.
Yes.
Yeah.
So and in addition to that, they have some compression algorithm, you know, and that will make the data more small. For example, let me give you an example of.
Okay.
There is a company database. Okay, it was like maybe 500 gigabyte of data. Okay, when they transferred that 500 gigabyte data to HANA, it was converted and it was compressed to 5 gigabyte. So the whole company, which was working on 500 gigabytes of data, now is working on 5 gigabyte of data. So that was because of the compression and because of the coding they are using. And you see here, this is like a column. So we are not using the row, we are using the columns into our HANA database. That's a real-time fast using SAP Fiori as a front end. So basically what we are trying to say is it's simplified, it's fast, it compressed, you can get the reports anytime.
And easy.
Very
easy. That's it. Yeah.
Very easy. Now we are talking about HANA platform. So HANA is not a database only. If you see here, a database is just one part here, database services. Okay. Now it is an application server. It's like a web server. It has so many applications like graphics, predictive analysis, spatial, text analytics. You can do processing on your WhatsApp, on your tweets. So it will run on the tweets and it will give you the report on that. When there was a time Hillary Clinton was in the and Al Gore was running the presidential election, they both were having iPad in their hands and they were seeing the live tweets analytics report that, okay, people are in favor. When they give the answer, people start writing tweets, and the server was processing all those tweets to tell them that your people, they like your answer or people dislike your answer. So you can make your strategy immediately. And that was all text analytics. And it was done on the SAP HANA database. And now we are having like many integration services, like you are having old database, you can connect to the SAP HANA. You have a Hadoop, like a big database, all materials, you can again link to the HANA. So all these integration with the old database and with other application you can do with the HANA. And all these are database services. So processing services, yani reporting, and getting the data from other sources, developing an application, and the database. Look at that. All of the things are available in SAP for HANA. Just anything you develop in Fiori is available for, you see here, for the computers, for the laptops, for the screens, for tablets, for iPad, for mobile, same application, same program, no change. So you develop for one and you can use on everywhere. This is what we call SAP Fiori. So SAP Fiori is like an HTML, based application development. So that's the end of it. We have you can implement the SAP HANA brand new. You can convert the system. You have ERP. Okay, khalas, you can convert the system from old ERP to SAP for HANA. You have different landscape, ERP system 1, 2, 3 in different countries. You can also convert them to HANA on premises, or you can convert them to the HANA cloud. So this is what we have. And that's the end of it. Thank you very much. So I hope to see you at 8 o'clock, inshallah.
Thank you, Mr. Tariq.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.